Good morning to everybody. Today we will discuss the topic of minimally invasive surgery. The title itself is self-explanatory that we are invading the patient minimally. So we make very little invasion into the body of the patient. Same time we will achieve the goal of doing this surgery. So that it is called minimally invasive surgery, under which a few subtitles will be coming. So minimally invasive surgery can be done in the abdomen, which is most commonly done nowadays, and also in the thoracic cavity also you can do that. So if you take the history of origin of minimally invasive surgery, it was in 1982, SEM, a person who performed first laparoscopic appendicectomy. And in 87, Mauret performed first laparoscopic cholecystectomy. And in the due course, a first laparoscopic training center was started in UK. Now we will go to the laparoscopic surgery, means the surgery in the abdomen through minimal invasion. It's also called keyhole surgery, minimal access surgery, all same. So by definition, a minimal access surgery is a product of modern technology and surgical innovation that aim to accomplish surgical therapeutic goals with minimal somatic and mental trauma to the patient. So you have the following list of minimally invasive surgery. Told you laparoscopy stands first, of course, most commonly done. When you have got thoracoscopic surgery, endoluminal endoscopic surgery, then perivisceral endoscopic surgery, arthroscopy and intra-articular joint surgery, and combined approach. Combined approach means you do laparoscopy as well as make a small incision so that a hand can be inserted into the abdomen. So what are the core principles of a laparoscopic surgery? There is a mnemonic called VITROS, I VITROS. That is, I means insufflate. You have to insufflate the abdomen with carbon dioxide so that you get a big space in the abdomen because of distension, so that you get enough space so that you can play there. Then visualization, then you identify the structures, triangulate, retraction, then operation, then hemostasis and closure. So major steps. So this is a picture of laparoscopic cholecystectomy. You see, on the left side you can see the gallbladder distended. On the right side, the gallbladder is removed You see the two clips there, that is over the cystic duct. And there is a clip applicator seen as an instrument. Another operation commonly done is Nissen fundoplication for gastroesophageal reflux disease. Then you have the inguinal hernia repair is also commonly done by laparoscopy. Appendicectomy. See, the appendix is seen. So it is removed and a ligation is put in the base. That is laparoscopic appendicectomy. Now let us see what is the principle. The differences between a laparoscopic and open surgery. So it makes a lot of difference for the patient. Number one is, see, post-operative pain depends upon the length of the incision, the size of the incision. Here in laparoscopy you are making small incisions, so less pain. Very important. Post-operative pain is very, very less when compared to an open surgery. Moreover, you are handling the structures like intestines with very thin instrument, so that little or no disturbance takes place to the normal structures or normal function. And the trauma that is inflicted over the abdominal wall by an incision so small, that is 1 centimeter or 0.5 centimeter incisions, actually they are holes, ports. So a rapid return to normal activity can be had for the patient. And small incisions always allow the patient to early return to more strenuous activities like driving, lifting, sporting, games, everything, because the incision is very small. Maximum you get 1 centimeter incision. And what for the surgeon? Surgeon is advantageous because he gets a magnified view inside the abdomen of the structures and a two-dimensional view, and he has to see that longer operating time may be needed. That is a disadvantage because you are using small ports and very long incisions, very thin incisions. So it usually takes longer time, and the operating technique is entirely different than an open operation. So what are the equipments? What are the equipments necessary for minimally invasive surgery? See, a set of instruments, equipments, all are different. You need to have a camera, you need to have a light source, an insufflator for carbon dioxide, a TV monitor, a telescope, and light guide cable. So these are the instruments. You can see the telescope, the various ports on the right side, on the upper right side. These are various types of instruments. The tip of the instruments are resembling our conventional open surgery. instruments to hold, to grasp, to dissect, to cut, everything same. The tip is the same. So, the advantages in general is the wound size is much less, so that wound infection, wound dehiscence, bleeding, herniation, nerve entrapment are much less, and there is less pain of the wound, and patient can have improved mobility, and heat loss is much less, and for the surgeon, improved vision. Now, what are limitations of laparoscopic surgery? See, you are depending upon a remote vision, and you cannot touch the structures, so you lose the tactile feedback, and you have to depend on the hand-eye coordination. Are very important. And when there is a bleeding, hemoptysis may be little difficult because you have no access to your arms, to hand, and you are depending upon a new technique. And larger specimens, resected specimens, extraction may be difficult. Taking out of the specimens may be difficult because you have made only small incisions. So what will you do preoperatively to assess the patient for a laparoscopic surgery? You have to take a history, see whether patient is fit for GA. Laparoscopy usually done under GA, so no regional anesthesia, local anesthesia possible. And you have to see whether there is any bleeding disorders, and also should see whether there is intra-abdominal extensive adhesions, so that your entry in the abdomen may be difficult because of previous operations or peritonitis. Routine physical examination, then you have to create a pneumoperitoneum that itself may produce cardiac arrhythmias, and absolute contraindication for laparoscopy is COPD, ischemic heart disease, and presence of scars over the abdomen, large masses in the abdomen which cannot be approached by laparoscopy. The scars in the abdomen may hinder your insertion of the instruments in the abdomen, and obese patients again may be difficult, and also in very thin patients and kyphosis patients, the introduction of the ports may be difficult. So what are the pre-medications and prophylaxis about against deep vein thrombosis? That has to be considered. So you have to assess for any venous stasis, and patient has to be kept in reverse Trendelenburg position, which may be a factor for DVT, because during operation patient will have to be sometimes kept in reverse Trendelenburg position. That may precipitate DVT. You have to give subcutaneous fractionated heparin and anti-thromboembolic stockings plus pneumatic leggings to prevent DVT. And if patient is taking warfarin, you have to convert it into, stop it and replace it with heparin. That is for any surgery, it is like that. And you have to put the urinary catheter sometimes, so also nasogastric tubes. May not be necessary in all cases. An informed consent has to be got. And general intraoperative principles like creating a pneumoperitoneum. So there is a first step that you do. A pneumoperitoneum is created with carbon dioxide. So this can be done in two ways, either by open method or closed. This is first port that you are putting into the abdomen, and that is a blind procedure, and you have to be very careful because inside structures are not seen. So it could be either open method or closed method. In closed method, what you do is you make a puncture with a special needle called Veress needle. So this is done just below the umbilicus by holding the skin over of the abdomen in your left hand, and a rapid thrust is made into the abdominal cavity. So there is a slight angulation towards the umbilicus of the needle, so that even if you go deep into the abdomen, you may not injure the aorta, because your needle position, tip of the needle will invariably go beyond the bifurcation of the aorta. Very Veress needle. Open one is, instead of using the Veress needle, you are making a small 1 centimeter incision. It could be either vertical, just below the umbilicus. Just below the umbilicus, it may be vertical or transverse incision. Two small retractors are used to dissect blindly the subcutaneous fat, expose the midline fascia. Then two sutures are inserted on either side of the midline fascia, followed by creation of 1 centimeter opening into the fascia. Then free penetration into the abdomen is confirmed by free gentle interaction of a finger. Finally, the Husson trocar is inserted, and it is fixed with a facial suture. This is more safe method. So first port is made like that. This is the open method of making a first port. So what are the preoperative problems that you may encounter in case of a laparoscopic surgery? Patient might have undergone a previous abdominal surgery. That is not a contraindication. But you have to evaluate the details about the preoperative operation that patient underwent. Then obesity. In obese people, the minimally invasive surgery is safe and effective, but there may be technical difficulties. Then what are the operative problems during the operation? See, when you introduce the first port, the Veress needle or the Husson trocar, you may injure the viscus, abdominal viscus, you may injure the gallbladder, bowel, solid organs like that. And there may be bleeding also. Bleeding may be from a major vessel or from gallbladder bed, from a trocar side. All these can happen during the laparoscopic surgery. So how will you prevent bleeding? You have to see the bleeding for parameters of the patient. Look for any risk of bleeding like cirrhosis, inflammatory conditions, coagulation defects, anticoagulants like that. So suppose there is a bleeding from a major vessel, you have to identify the vessel, then catch the bleeder with the tip of the grasper and apply electrocautery or a clip. That is the way you laparoscopically tackle a bleeding point. And if not, bleeding vessel is not identified, then compression of the bleeding site with a blunt instrument or with the adjacent organs like stomach or colon or intestine or omentum. So in the case of a bleeding, a good suction and irrigation to make the vision clear is very important. And suppose the bleeding is still uncontrolled, then as a last resort you have to open the abdomen and tackle it. So when you do a cholecystectomy, bleeding may occur from the gallbladder bed. So you have to expose the bleeding site, apply cautery, then grasp the bleeding point, again apply cautery or keep something pressed to the bleeding point. Sometimes you may see a bleeding from the trocar site, from the port. So that may sometimes happen. So this can be prevented by tilting the trocar in the direction of bleeding. Or if still continues, you can suture it, or you can use a Foley's balloon tamponade. Suppose there is bleeding and clot formation inside the abdomen. The clot can be removed by using heparin and irrigating the area of clot with heparinized fluid. That will prevent the clotting. When once clot is formed, suction using large bore cannula has to be done. So while using electric cautery, you should be very careful in laparoscopic surgery because you may touch unnecessary or adjacent organs without your knowledge that may produce injury or perforation, bleeding from the adjacent organs. So the instrument is having an insulation, and sometimes the insulation may be broken, so that with our knowledge, without our knowledge, it may injure the neighboring structures. So rather, bipolar diathermy is better to avoid neighboring injury than monopolar diathermy. So what about postoperative care after the surgery? Patient may have nausea just like any other operation. May have an additional problem is patient may have shoulder pain. It is because the gas is getting pressing or touching the diaphragm, so that you may get shoulder pain. Patient may have postoperative abdominal pain. You have to give analgesia, and sometimes a Ryle's tube has to be used for feeding. Oral fluids can be given as early as possible. Oral feeding can be started very next day or same day, and sometimes urinary catheter and drains may have to be put. The principle that you have to observe during laparoscopic surgery is you should take meticulous care in creating the pneumoperitoneum and in dissecting the adhesions. The operative field should be completely exposed. You should avoid neighboring organ injuries, and as far as possible, the bleeding should be controlled, should be avoided. Then discharge. Usually in laparoscopic surgery, I told you, the patient is usually discharged very early when compared to open surgery. Most of the cases like appendicectomy and cholecystectomy, patient is kept overnight in the hospital and discharged next morning. So discharge is only when patient is comfortable, he is passing urine, is eating properly, not having much pain. and sutures are removed at least after 1 week. Patient may be asked to restrict mobility for 2 to 3 days. This is all the basic things about laparoscopic surgery, one of the minimally invasive form of surgery. Now another modality of minimally invasive surgery, most modern, is robotic surgery. Actually, robotic surgery is an extension of laparoscopic surgery, but it is more mechanized. So, robotic is a mechanical device that performs automated physical tasks according to direct human supervision, a predefined program or a set of general guidelines using artificial intelligence techniques. So, this is the picture, the common picture of a robot left side in the form of a human being. The right side, the robotic arms. These are the arms that you see in the picture, which is now playing on the abdomen of the patient. See, Da Vinci system is a form of laparoscopic, the robotic system, robotic machine. It's named Da Vinci system. It makes the surgery easier for surgeons, and a number of staff required is also very minimized. Here what happens is surgeon is sitting in a different next room, patient is lying on the other room. There is no contact between surgeon and the patient. The surgeon is sitting in front of a computer console and he gets a 3D vision of the operating field. There is setting, docking, what you call docking, the operation table, the anesthesiologist, then the instruments, various arms, everything. So what are the components of Da Vinci system of robotic machine? So the doctor is using two arms, two masters. One is an endoscope arm. He has got an endoscopic arm, and this endoscope is also programmed to regulate the temperature of the tip to prevent any fogging during the procedure. Fogging is a problem in laparoscopic surgery, and this is eliminated in robotic surgery, and surgeon can switch to different views easily by the touch of a foot pedal. The other two arms equipped with specialized tools called endowrist detachable instruments. So the main tool is the instruments in robotic surgery act like your wrist and fingers, so that a lot of movements can be had at the tip of each instrument. That is the most important advantage. Just like our wrist and fingers, a lot of movements are possible, is it not? And the robotic arms will eliminate the surgeon hand tremor. So it has got, the instruments has got 7 different planes of movements, and it can also rotate around completely. So wide range of movements at the tip of instruments is the most important advantage of robotic surgery. What is the disadvantage? The cost is very, very prohibitive, and you have to buy a big setup of system, and takes more operating time. It has got socio-economic implications. then the surgeon has to take a lot of time for learning the technique, prolonged learning curve. Hemostasis may be sometimes difficult. The collision of robotic arms can also happen. So this is your right side, you see the left top, you see that is a console. Console is a controlling unit at which the surgeon is sitting and doing the operation. You can see on the right side, the surgeon is sitting in front of the console and is seeing the field of operation and operating from a distance. Now you have, so usually laparoscopic surgery and robotic surgery done through multiple openings, multiple keyholes, incisions. And there is one technique called single incision laparoscopic surgery, where only single incision is made at the umbilicus. The umbilicus is a site of incision. You make a single incision through which all the instruments are inserted. Even though many instruments are inserted through the same port, they are having multiple channels. So the advantage is you are not putting multiple incisions, so less pain. Only one incision and less chance of bleeding, and also port site hernia. This is otherwise called laparoscopic single site surgery or single port access surgery, usually done for cholecystectomy. Then another technique is nodes. Nodes is through natural orifices of the patient. You are introducing the instruments and doing the surgery. Natural orifice transluminal endoscopic surgery. So you enter the peritoneal cavity endoscopically via natural orifice like mouth, rectum, vagina, and then surgery is performed. Here advantage, there is no scar at all, no incision. But thing is, this is not commonly practiced nowadays. That is the laparoscopic part of minimally invasive surgery. Now we will go to the thoracoscopic part of minimally invasive surgery. See, it is after some time of starting laparoscopic surgery, surgeons have started doing thoracoscopic surgery. So Jacobius is the first person who did a thoracoscopic surgery as early as 1900. Advantage is here again less postoperative pain, lesser blood loss, faster recovery, minimal complications, cosmetically superior. And there are disadvantages like lack of depth, the perception of the depth perception, and limited accessibility, and the ribs acts as a fulcrum, and maintenance of oncological principles is difficult sometimes, and it is costly. More and more used in various diagnostic and therapeutic procedures in the thorax involving the pleura, mediastinum, esophagus, lung and diaphragm. You have patients are usually placed on one side. Using a trocar, surgeon gains access into the chest cavity through a space between ribs. Then through that, an endoscope, or that is a telescope, is inserted through the trocar, giving the surgeon a magnified view of patient's internal organs. So here there is no need to spread the ribs or resect the ribs. You can use a single unit port for diagnostic purposes or multiple port. The equipments again same, a camera, a rigid endoscope, High definition TV monitor, light source, light cable, carbon dioxide insufflator, various trocar, cannula, BATS, thoracoscopic instruments. BATS means video assisted thoracoscopic surgery. So indications of thoracoscopic surgery is limited to diagnostic procedures or in the management of empyema effusions earlier. With the development of double lumen endotracheal tube enabling single lung ventilation, various diagnostic and therapeutic procedures can be done because only one side of the lung is functioning. The other side of the other lung is collapsed. So we are ventilating only one lung, opposite lung. So we get much cavity in the lesion, the disease side. That lung is purposefully collapsed. A single one lung ventilation. That is possible now. So the indications are undiagnosed recurrent pleural effusion, pleural biopsy can be taken, a wedge resection of the lung nodule or tissue diagnosis can be done biopsy, and a mediastinal lymph node can be taken for biopsy without doing thoracotomy. And therapeutic indications are early stage lung cancer, non-anatomical wedge resection can be done, segmentectomy, lobectomy, pneumonectomy, blebectomy for pneumothorax, bullectomy, lung volume reduction surgery. Lot of surgery over the lung can be done. In the mediastinum we can do thymectomy, posterior mediastinal tumors removal and cyst removal. And esophagus also you can do total esophagectomy, leiomyoma, enucleation of the esophagus. Now what are contraindications? Chest wall invasion, coagulopathy, a hemodynamically unstable patient, and inability to maintain one lung ventilation. The anesthesia principles in thoracoscopic surgery, almost all procedures need general anesthesia and some form of lung isolation technique to deflate lung on the side of lesion, achieved with controlled pneumothorax or by deflating the lung purposefully, double lumen endotracheal tubing. Benign conditions indication, most common benign indication empyema thoracis. Conversion rates to open surgery have decreased over the years. Then decortication of the lung is also done in case of tuberculosis, empyema. It requires special care to avoid lung injury and air leak. Oncologically, lung resection for lung cancer, thymectomy for thymoma, esophagectomy for esophageal cancer. Lung surgery, cancer surgery, there is debate regarding the poorer long-term outcomes in thoracoscopic surgery compared to open surgery. Patients with early stage of lung cancer are selected for thoracoscopic surgery. Multiple studies have evaluated both locoregional recurrences and survival rates. After thoracoscopic lobectomy found there is no difference. Thymoma is the most common primary mediastinal neoplasm in adults. Incidence is 0.15 cases per 1 lakh population. Single most prognostic marker is complete resection with adequate margin. Currently, median sternotomy is the gold standard. Due to shorter postoperative period and hospital stay, decreased pain, the thoracoscopic approach is now preferred. A robotic assisted thymectomy can also be done. The disadvantage is higher cost. Then uniportal video assisted thoracoscopic surgery, just like a single incision laparoscopy. Single utility incision It is popularized by Dego's panic surgeon. Advantages: reduce access trauma, less pain, less morbidity, better cosmesis, faster recovery. Disadvantage: there is decreased dexterity. Non-intubated thoracic surgery, you do it without intubation of the patient. Performing thoracoscopic procedures in local anesthesia. It's not in general anesthesia. Intercostal nerve blocks, interpleural block, paravertebral block, thoracic epidural anesthesia along sedation, spontaneously breathing patients can be achieved, and minor surgeries can be done without general anesthesia. The disadvantages are inadequate analgesia, panic attacks, hypoxia, hypercapnia, conversion to general anesthesia. Respiratory movements make dissection difficult. And there may be loss of airway, and aspiration may take place, and you may have to convert into general anesthesia. The technological advantages are three-dimensional video-assisted thoracic surgery. I told you the high dexterity, then so in short, this is what is meant by minimally invasive surgery. So I told you, minimally invasive surgery is an umbrella name under which you have got the laparoscopic surgery, you have got normal orifice surgery, you have got thoracoscopic surgery, you have got assisted minimally invasive surgery. So this is all about minimally invasive surgery. Thank you very much.